All right, welcome back to Database History. Today, we've got a story where a software bug didn't just stay in the digital world. It escaped, and it had a very real, very physical, and very, very loud impact on millions of people.
I mean, this quote just says it all, right? This wasn't some silent server crash happening in a data center somewhere. This was a digital error you could literally feel in your pocket.
Yep, this is the story of the Blackberry meltdown, the day a bad SQL statement basically turned every single phone into a vibrating brick. And it all happened to a device that at the time was the absolute center of the professional universe. Now, to really get why this was such a huge deal, you have to remember what the world was like back then, and just how critical the Blackberry was in the early 2000s.
I mean, this thing wasn't just a phone, right? It was it was a status symbol, an identity. It was literally the lifeline for global business. And the heart of it all, a massive centralized notification database that had to be perfect. It managed every single message for every single user.
So that brings us right to the heart of it all, the mistake. Just a routine update that went so wrong. You know, the crazy part is, this all started from something totally normal, a simple routine update. The developer was just trying to do their job. Let's take a look at the code they thought they were running.
Okay, so look at this. The key here, the really important part, is that last line, the where clause. Think of that as the safety rail. It tells the database, hey, only apply this change to this one specific user. It's targeted. It's safe. It's how it's supposed to work.
But, yeah, that's not what happened. One single, absolutely critical line of code just didn't make it into the final script that was pushed to the live servers. And here it is. This is the problem. Look at that table. The where clause, it's gone, vanished. And without that filter, the command doesn't say update one user anymore. It says update every single pending notification for every user on the entire planet. That one missing line turned a precision tool into a sledgehammer. You know, a bad update is bad enough, but what happened next, that's what turned this from a glitch into an absolute catastrophe. See, the problem wasn't just that the command ran once. The whole system was built in a way that created this terrifying feedback loop. So here's how the spiral started. First, a system scanner would go find all the notifications that needed to be sent. Simple enough. Then, that broken update command runs, marking every single one of them as sent in the database. But, and this is the killer part, a different process sees that status change and just starts sending a massive flood of notifications. This created a firestorm of database activity that completely overwhelmed the system. So what does that mean? It means every pending notification in the entire Blackberry system was now being sent out over and over and over again. It was a nonstop global storm of data. So for 4 agonizing hours, the engineers were just fighting this digital fire. And in that time, the system tried to send over 12.5 million notifications. When you start to do the math on that, the rate is it's staggering. Yeah, 875 emails per second. Just let that number sink in for a moment. That's not a notification system anymore. That is a fire hose pointed directly at the entire internet. And to really put that into perspective, just look at this chart. On a totally normal day, the system is handling what, maybe 10 messages a second? During the meltdown, it was almost 90 times that. The infrastructure was never, ever built for that kind of load. Okay, so we've got a technical disaster, a network that's basically on fire. But what makes this story legendary, what people still talk about, is how that digital chaos literally broke through into the physical world. Think about it. Every single one of those 875 messages per second was hitting a real device somewhere in the world. And every device vibrated for every message. People's phones just started buzzing in their pockets, and they didn't stop. They were vibrating on desks, in purses, during meetings, literally shaking themselves right off tables until their batteries just gave up and died.
So, after all that, what's the lesson here? What's the takeaway from all this chaos? Well, this story has become this foundational cautionary tale for pretty much anyone who works with data.
And this quote, this just says it all. This is the ghost story that DBAs, database administrators, tell each other around the campfire. This is why they lose sleep. This is why you triple check and quadruple check production scripts, because they know how easily one tiny little oversight can spiral into a global disaster.
So, the ultimate lesson from the whole BlackBerry meltdown? It's really simple, but it's so profound. As you can see here, always check your where clause. It's often the only thing standing between a simple update and a complete system meltdown. But it also points to a bigger failure, right? A system that even allowed a single unchecked command to run against a live critical database?
And really, that's what database history is all about. It's about these tiny mistakes, the forgotten semicolons, the missing lines of code that somehow have the power to create just unbelievable, world-shaking chaos. So always check your work, because you never know what might start vibrating.